Being professionally sponsored and only 19 is something most kids only dream of. Reporter Owen Skornik-Hayes has more.
Kobe QB Brucken is unlike the average 19-year-old. Instead of spending his time poring over texts and going to class, you can find the teen scooting his way up and down the ramps of Washington Jefferson Skate Park, located under the Delta Highway in Eugene, Oregon. Inspired by online videos featuring highlights of the world's gnarliest scooter athletes, Kobe bought his first scooter back in 2012 for just $6 at his local Goodwill. His love for the action sport spurns from the sense of individuality he receives from riding.
This is like the self-expression I love. Nobody tells me what to do, nobody tells me what to film or what to go out and like post on Instagram, or it's just like creative self-expression, and it's great. I love it.
Brucken's unique, expressive style has landed him on YouTube for his participation in both the Chicago Street Jam and the Portland Street Jam. By competing at these events, he hopes to one day go pro, a journey which he has already started thanks to North Scooters setting him up with a sponsorship. As far as the future, Kobe sees himself fitting in just fine alongside his scooter riding friends, despite the youthfulness associated with the sport.
It's not a lot of people consider it to be like an action sport. It's kind of like more generalized as like a things kids do, but I don't know, I just fell in love with it when I was a kid, and I think that I can like prove to people that it's like more gnarly than just like a kid's toy.
His impressive array of skills certainly prove the maturity with which he rides. From Washington Jefferson Skate Park, reporting for Duck TV Sports, I'm Owen Skornik-Hayes. I'm here in Creswell, Oregon, where one mother and daughter pair have built their dream from the ground up. A few years back, Emily Park and her mom built this entire farm from the ground up. Operating as a breeding and training facility for horses and riders, the farm services riders from all across Oregon. Though Park is just 24, she is already a head instructor at the farm and graduated high school at just 16 years old.
I'm the head of the Oregon Dressage Youth Committee educational series, so that way we have accessible educational opportunities for kids to learn to ride. So it's outreach for anybody that wants to learn about the type of riding I do.
Despite her intelligence and poise, Park doesn't plan on completing college just yet, rather focusing her efforts on the family business. From a young age, she knew she had a passion for horses, dragging her mom right along with her.
By the Walmart at my house, there was a fireworks stand that always brought the ponies that you could go on pony rides. I'd make my mom go through like 5 times before I'd let her go home.
Park and her mom employ farmhands from the area to keep operations smooth. Each and every horse on the barn has been imported from various countries by Park herself. Most of her horses come from Germany, which is famous for its dressage scene, Park's favorite event. Since paying for an Olympic-quality horse is extremely expensive, Park's dream is to keep breeding her imported horses and train the offspring for elite competition. She says she's always wanted to compete in the Olympics, but she is just as content in owning an Olympic-quality horse. For reporting for electronic media, I'm Owen Skornik-Hayes. Hi, welcome to Duck TV Sports. I'm your host, Owen Skornik-Hayes.
And I'm Brianna Chavez. Fall sports are in full swing, so let's get you caught up on all things Oregon athletics.
It's been a rough year for the ladies on the volleyball squad, who've posted just 7 wins so far this season. That 7th win, a victory against the California Golden Bears, marked a major upset in just their 3rd conference win on the season. The number 20 ranked Bears couldn't keep up with the high-flying, efficient attack from the Ducks, who had their most accurate performance in Pac-12 play thus far, with a sizzling .364 hitting percentage. Despite dropping the first set, the Ducks rallied, winning the next 3 sets, staking their claim at victory. Big performances from star senior Ronica Stone, sophomore Brooke Nunnenviller, and redshirt freshman Abby Hansen fueled the Ducks to the W. Stone finished with a season-high 17 kills. The Ducks fell on Sunday against the top 5 Stanford Cardinal. They now need to win 8 straight matches to close out the season if they want to make the NCAA tournament. They will be back in action this Thursday, November 7th, against the Washington Huskies. And now on to another outstanding female athlete. Reporter Claire Pokonik has the story of a girl who went from kicking soccer goals to field goals.
That's all for this week. Be sure to follow us on social media, and don't forget to listen to our podcast, The Breakdown, on Spotify.
Now back to Hannah and Manuela with the news. Have a great night, Eugene. Welcome into the Duck TV Sports Studio. I'm your host, Owen Skornik-Hayes. From redemption at Autzen to Mat Night action and everything in between, we've got you covered on This Week in Oregon Sports. The Oregon Ducks football team rebounded from their two-game skid with a wire-to-wire victory against the UCLA Bruins on Saturday night. It was Chip Kelly's first official return to Autzen since his departure in 2012, an atmosphere which he knew would be electric. Special teams and defense were the order of the day, propelling the Ducks towards the win. Senior safety Ugo Amadi returned a punt for 56 yards, while the rest of the defense capitalized off of 3 forced turnovers. Justin Herbert continued his streak of dominance, throwing 2 touchdowns to wide receiver Dylan Mitchell, extending his touchdown streak to 24 games. This marks Mitchell's 4th 100-yard game of the year. With their win, Oregon improves to 6-3, knocking UCLA out of bowl contention with their 7th loss. Chip Kelly has now lost more games in 1 year at UCLA than he did in 53 games as coach of Oregon. USC and Oregon volleyball collided in a top 25 Pac-12 matchup at Matt Knight on Friday night. The number 15 Trojans pulled away from the 16th-ranked Ducks in a 3-set victory, avenging a previous 3-set loss handed to them by the Ducks in Los Angeles. Despite a fast Oregon start, momentum quickly turned in favor of the Trojans as they stormed back to win the first set 30-28. Set by set, the ladies of USC continued to improve, winning easily by the 3rd set to improve to 17-7 on the year. Lindsey Vanderweide continued to show the Oregon faithful why she is the leader of this team, sending home 13 kills. Co-star of the night, Ronica Stone, translated her athleticism into much-needed energy, hitting a .444 with 11 kills. It was a night the Ducks will hope to rebound from as they suffered one of their worst hitting nights of the season. However, in a conference as unpredictable as the Pac-12, nothing is guaranteed. Despite recent in-conference woes for the Oregon women's soccer team, the season finished on a high note with a 2-0 win against the Oregon State Beavers. A night of Civil War soccer saw the Ducks improve to 9-9-1 on the year, the team's best record in a decade. Senior forward Marissa Everett struck home 2 goals in the 35th and 61st minute in front of the 9th largest crowd in Pape Field history. In a game defined by grit, Oregon goalie Hala Henriksdotter kept a clean sheet, stopping a slew of shots from a hungry Beaver team. The Ducks will hope their record is good enough to propel them into a playoff spot. Oregon faithful got their first glimpse of the men's basketball team on Thursday night, a 77-58 preseason victory against the Western Oregon Wolves. It's an extremely anticipated season thanks to incoming standout freshman Bol Bol. In his first collegiate game, he slammed down a one-handed jam and nailed an insane turnaround 3, making both look effortless. The men of Oregon appeared to be clicking despite the absence of Peyton Pritchard and Paul White. The team will have a long way to go before they completely gel, but the Ducks certainly deserve their wild card title looking ahead to March. Last year's women's basketball team was one of the better stories around campus last year. Returning faces Sabrina Ionescu, Ruthie Hebert, and Satu Sabali will hope to spark a similar run in 2019. The team certainly has talent and will now have the added talent of Notre Dame transfer Aaron Boley, who is at last eligible after sitting out the previous year due to NCAA transfer rules. Fans will have to wait until Tuesday for the season to tip off in Fairbanks, Alaska, and the ladies will at last make the return to Matt Knight November 10th against the Syracuse Orange. Thanks for tuning in to this week's Oregon Sports Update. Follow our social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and check out our website for upcoming articles and all things Oregon sports. Tune in next week for your weekly Oregon Fix. Have a great night, Eugene.
University of Oregon has over 400 clubs for an individual to join, giving great diversity to student selection. One such club is the Cultura Pilipinas Club, better known as the Filipino American Student Alliance. The club places an emphasis on unifying students, regardless of race, but primarily Filipino, to form tighter friendships. Members discuss current events, conflicts of interest, tell stories, and keep the air light through jokes and games.
I don't know what a red table is.
For one member, the group has given an opportunity to learn more about herself. Emmy Escanlar is 50% Canadian and 50% Filipino on her father's side. Growing up in Oregon, she was familiar with her identity, but never really personally identified with the traditions and customs of the Philippines.
Something that we have talked about before is kind of like a racial identity and like a cultural identity, which a lot of people, specifically if they come from like a predominantly white area, will, barely experience until they go to college.
She had seldom met her Filipino family, hardly knows any traditional recipes, and barely speaks a lick of her country's native language, Tagalog.
We've talked about like Filipino food, we've talked about Filipino culture and like specifics to like music and art.
Though meetings are being held on Zoom for the time being, Escanlar looks forward to meetings in the EMU.
For reporting for electronic media, I'm Owen Skornik-Hayes.